It was a muggy summer night when the thunderstorm rolled into Hollow Creek, a small town with a reputation for strange occurrences during heavy weather. Locals avoided talking about it, but everyone knew the stories. Every time a thunderstorm swept through, people would hear strange noises and some claimed to see things, shadows that moved against the lightning flashes, figures that vanished as soon as the rain stopped. For Jenna and her friends though, these stories were nothing more than exaggerated folklore. She and her three friends, Tom, Lily, and Sam, had grown up hearing about the ghosts of Hollow Creek, but had never paid much attention. So, when they all gathered for a weekend at her family's old cabin, tucked deep in the woods on the outskirts of town, they weren't concerned by the weather forecast predicting severe thunderstorms. The cabin was cozy enough, but its age showed. The wooden floors creaked with every step and the windows rattled whenever the wind picked up. As the afternoon turned into evening, the air grew thick, and the first rumblings of thunder echoed in the distance. Tom, always the skeptic, grinned. "Guess we'll see if the old ghost stories hold up tonight," he said, glancing out at the dark clouds gathering on the horizon. By nightfall, the storm had arrived. Lightning lit up the sky, illuminating the cabin in brief, blinding flashes. The wind howled through the trees, making them bend and groan. Inside, the four friends huddled around the fireplace, trying to ignore the growing tension in the air. Suddenly, a loud crack of thunder rattled the windows so hard they feared the glass might shatter. Jenna jumped, spilling her drink. "Okay, that was intense," she muttered, wiping her hands on her jeans. Sam, trying to lighten the mood, suggested they tell ghost stories to match the storm. But as they went around sharing their tales, a loud knock came from the front door. Everyone froze. "Who would be out here in this weather?" Lily whispered. Tom, always eager to prove nothing scared him, got up and opened the door. The rain poured down in sheets, but no one stood outside. The porch was empty. "Probably the wind," Tom said, closing the door. But as he turned back to the group, they all heard it again. Another knock, this time louder and more insistent. Jenna's heart pounded as she stood up. "Maybe it's someone who needs help," she said, though she wasn't sure she believed it. She opened the door herself, but again, no one was there. The storm roared on, but something felt wrong. There was a heaviness in the air, something oppressive and dark. "Let's just lock the door and wait for the storm to pass," Lily suggested nervously. Everyone agreed, and they double-locked the door, pulling the curtains closed. But the moment they did, the power went out. In the sudden darkness, they scrambled for flashlights and candles. The cabin felt much smaller and far more ominous without the safety of electric light. Thunder rumbled, and the cabin shook. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the walls, and every creak and groan of the old building seemed amplified. Jenna noticed something strange. The rain was still pounding against the windows, but it sounded different, like there were footsteps in it too, muffled and faint, but definitely there. "Do you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The others listened closely. Through the roar of the storm, they began to hear it too, footsteps moving slowly around the cabin. Then came the knock again, but this time it wasn't from the door. It was from the window beside the fireplace, a slow, deliberate knock. "Who's out there?" Tom called, shining his flashlight toward the window. His beam cut through the dark, illuminating nothing but raindrops sliding down the glass. But as he turned away, the knocking continued, faster now, more insistent. Suddenly, a deafening crack of thunder exploded overhead, and with it, a flash of lightning illuminated the figure outside the window, a shadowy silhouette, tall and thin, with long, bony fingers tapping on the glass. But as quickly as the light revealed it, the figure vanished into the darkness. Lily screamed, and the rest of them jumped back, horrified. Before anyone could answer, the figure appeared at the next window, then the next, as if it was circling the cabin, looking for a way inside. "Everyone to the back room!" Jenna shouted, grabbing her flashlight. They all scrambled into the small bedroom at the rear of the cabin, slamming the door behind them. The rain hammered against the roof, the wind howling, and the knocking, oh the knocking, followed them, this time at the small bedroom window. "What does it want?" Sam asked, his voice breaking. "I don't know," Jenna said, her eyes wide with fear. She glanced around, her mind racing. There was no way out. The storm was too violent, the woods too thick, and whatever was outside wouldn't let them leave. Then the knocking stopped. For a moment the only sound was the rain and the distant rumble of thunder. They all held their breath, waiting, terrified. But nothing happened. No more knocking, no footsteps, just silence. Suddenly the lights flickered back on, and for a brief moment relief washed over them. But as the bulbs burned brightly, they revealed something far more horrifying. Written on the walls, in long, wet streaks, were words, "Let me in." Before anyone could react, the door to the room flung open, and the shadowy figure stood in the doorway, its face obscured by darkness, but its outstretched hand beckoning them. The figure didn't move closer, but stood still, waiting for them to make the first move. Paralyzed by fear, they stood frozen, not daring to speak, not daring to move. Jenna, her voice barely audible, whispered, "We can't let it in." And then, with one final flash of lightning, the figure vanished. The storm passed as suddenly as it had come, leaving the friends shaken, but alive. In the light of day, the cabin looked as it always had, old, creaky, but harmless. There were no marks on the walls, no signs of the nightmarish figure. But the four of them knew the truth. Whatever had come with the storm wasn't gone, it was just waiting, and they would never look at a thunderstorm the same way again.